Many WNBA fans are calling out the referee problem.
The referees literally turned their back.
Caitlin Clark appears to be hunted every game. She deals with physicality that no other player in the league is dealing with. The WNBA not stepping in to protect their cash cow, their only draw, their only star, and this is the end result.
They said she'd change everything. Caitlin Clark was billed as the future, the rising star who'd take the WNBA to new heights. But what no one mentioned was that the league itself might stand in her way. It didn't take long, just a few games, for Caitlin to go from the league's golden girl to a target on the court.
It's shocking.
Caitlin Clark will be sidelined for at least 2 weeks
with a quad injury.
Bullets has emerged. How Caitlin Clark got hurt.
He fouls her for the 4th time. It's cheating.
Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the interest in the Fever and the interest in the WNBA.
Rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
And it wasn't just the opposing teams coming after her. This wasn't some typical rookie adjustment phase. What we saw felt calculated and far more threatening.
After every single game, WNBA players, fans, coaches are all complaining about the referees, and they have shown that they're not going to change anything because the referees continue to be horrible.
Game after game, Caitlin Clark was battered, knocked down, pushed around, and forced to fight through a storm of silence from the whistle. The referees, the ones meant to keep things fair, they watched it unfold like background actors in a bad play. What started as the occasional missed call turned into a full-blown pattern. Obvious fouls ignored while Clark hit the floor. Drop a protect CC in the comments if you're done staying silent.
Beeline's head coach, Stephanie White, she was complaining about her team not getting a whistle, not being respected.
Then it happened. The moment everyone feared. Caitlin Clark was benched with a quad injury, and just like that, fans began rewinding the tape. Every hard hit that was ignored, every shove that went uncalled, every desperate look she shot at the refs, hoping they'd finally blow the whistle. But it never came.
She will be out for 2 weeks minimum following a quad strain.
Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham going to the officials and trying to, ask for an explanation of what had just occurred. That official completely stonewalled them.
This wasn't just bad luck anymore. It started to feel like something more calculated. And right as the outrage hit its peak, boom, new reports dropped exposing just how flawed and possibly corrupt the league's officiating system really is.
This is a WNBA problem, and as more and more eyeballs are watching this league, it becomes growingly an issue. The officiating feels you never have a true grasp on what it's going to be.
It turns out a surprising number of WNBA refs were pulled straight from, wait for it, high school level games. And they're not even making calls based on their own judgment. Instead, there's a shadow committee behind the scenes, made up of GMS, coaches, and league insiders, deciding just how physical the game should be.
Referees not listening to them. They're not listening to the coaches. They're not listening to the players. They're not listening to the fans. They're listening to their stakeholders. That's why I keep saying nothing is going to change till the mindset and whoever's running all of this, the stakeholders, governance, whoever these people are.
And Caitlin Clark, she's stuck right in the crossfire, where power, pride, and profit all crashed together now after weeks of rising backlash, viral clips lighting up social media, and even coaches and players breaking their silence. The WNBA is finally starting to feel the pressure.
If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear overnight.
With legal threats looming and rumors of biased officiating swirling, the league's biggest moneymaker could quickly turn into its biggest problem, unless they move fast. And here's the million-dollar question. Just how far is the WNBA willing to go to silence the very star they've been profiting from since day one?
Caitlin Clark is being roughed up, but the physical wear and tear on Caitlin Clark, I'm not surprised that 2 weeks into the season, she's already got an injury.
Caitlin Clark has never been one to shy away from a challenge. At Iowa, she shattered records, packed arenas, and turned women's basketball into must-see TV. So when she made the leap to the WNBA, fans weren't just expecting jaw-dropping plays. They were counting on her to bring the kind of energy and star power the league desperately needed.
2024 was a year of unprecedented growth in viewership in the WNBA, a substantial amount of which can be attributed to Caitlin Clark, who took the basketball world world by storm after an all-time college career.
Who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
For a brief moment, it looked like everything was clicking. Crowds swelled, TV ratings soared to new heights. But instead of welcoming Clark with open arms, she faced elbows, cold stares, and outright hostility right from the start.
Caitlin Clark, somebody who was responsible for 26.5 of all WNBA economic activity last season, including revenue from merchandise, ticket sales, and television.
Caitlin Clark out at least 2 weeks waited, but can the WNBA maintain without her? Can the WNBA pack arenas, draw ratings?
From the moment Caitlin stepped onto the professional court, it was never just about basketball. It became personal. Every game felt like a battle. Defenders weren't simply guarding her, they were treating it like UFC night. She faced relentless full court pressure, off-ball fouls, and physical contact more fitting for a rugby match than a basketball game. And the referees, they were nowhere to be seen. Hits that would have drawn whistles for any other star were ignored when it came to Clark. Over and over, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and keep pushing forward.
The referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care. The world was watching how bad the cause was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against the Fever no matter what. And I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what went down, bro. They have an agenda against Caitlin Clark.
All the while, the league kept pushing the same old excuse. She just needs to adjust. But why does the pressure always fall on her? Why is Caitlin Clark the only star expected to toughen up, while everyone else gets treated like royalty? Then came the injury. After grinding through massive minutes, often logging 35 or more per game, Clark was sidelined with a left quad strain, ruled out for at least 2 weeks.
He said the reason that people are complaining is because they haven't watched the WNBA before, and these are just new fans who don't understand. But there's clearly an issue.
This wasn't just a setback. It was a harsh blow to the Indiana Fever and a huge loss for the entire WNBA. For many fans, it didn't feel like a random injury. It felt like the consequence of neglect, the inevitable outcome of a season filled with unchecked physicality, and a league that failed to protect the one player keeping the spotlight alive.
Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark has suffered a left quadricep strain and will be out for a minimum of 2 weeks.
This wasn't some unlucky twist of fate. It was a disaster that could have been avoided. What makes it hurt even more is the deafening silence. The league said nothing about the beatings Caitlin Clark had taken. No statements, no apologies, just another name added to the injury report. But this wasn't just any player. This was the face of the WNBA's future, benched not because she couldn't handle the pressure, but because the very system meant to protect her chose to turn a blind eye.
It's the Caitlin Clark disrespect. And what I mean by that is you've got somebody who is obviously the most popular player in basketball. You got somebody that I would argue maybe a top 5 most popular athlete in the United States of America. All right. You got this athlete in a league that nobody's been watching, never turned a profit, and your system is broken against that team?
Even those on the court were dropping hints. Kelsey Mitchell, Clark's teammate, quietly urged her to listen to her body, and a subtle acknowledgement that Caitlin was pushing through pain that most players would never ignore. Fans caught on, media outlets ran stories, and now the big question is, why was the league's brightest star left so vulnerable? And who stands to benefit from her being sidelined?
Kelsey Mitchell said even if there is a injury, hopefully it's just, like a little nagging thing. And again,
take care of your body and just make sure I think recovery is everything. I think if you're in tune to your body, you know what you need. This is Caitlin.
Taking a closer look at WNBA officiating uncovers a disturbing truth. The referees aren't just inexperienced. Many are seriously underqualified. Some have jumped straight from high school games into the WNBA, skipping essential steps like college leagues or the NBA G League. These aren't veterans with years of seasoning. They're often learning on the job during the league's most intense and high-pressure matchups. And this glaring lack of experience shows most clearly when it comes to controlling the game around the league's most talked about star, Caitlin Clark.
You guys, and they do not talk about it here. And that's why I also don't want us to personally attack some of these referees. I think they're doing their job. If they're hiring referees who basically didn't have any experience but high school refereeing jobs, and then they did a stint in the G League, like these referees actually aren't. I gained and reconfirmed with myself that not much is going to change.
But the situation runs even deeper. These referees aren't just making calls based on their own judgment. Behind the scenes, there's a competition committee pulling the strings, deciding how games should be officiated. This group is made up of coaches, general managers, and stakeholders. Not neutral arbiters, but people with their own agendas tied to certain results. This isn't just rumor. League insiders have confirmed it in interviews. Referees receive instructions on how much physicality to allow, which fouls to prioritize, and what style of play fits the league's image, regardless of what's actually fair on the court.
There's a committee for stakeholders, coaches, governors, and general managers, and that is saying what style of basketball they want to allow, and the referees are following that law.
Caitlin Clark's arrival shakes up the league's carefully managed balance. She brings a faster pace, draws unmatched media buzz, and shines a light that unsettles the old guard. Her electrifying style clashes with the slower, more physical approach the committee seems to prefer. As a result, she faces harsher treatment on the court, denied the protection that should be hers.
It took us halfway through the season. This year, it took us 4 games for Stephanie White to say, I've had enough.
I thought she got fouled. You know, I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games.
Hits that would instantly draw whistles in the NBA or even college hoops are shrugged off here. No calls, no accountability, just deafening silence. And when Caitlin asks the referees for answers, she's met with cold indifference. This isn't paranoia. It's a clear, systemic bias.
Y'all see what's happening right here? That is a WNBA referee turning his back to Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Oh my God. I mean, he literally got his back turned, ignoring Caitlin. I mean, this is bad.
Time after time, Clark takes hard hits that go unnoticed, while even the slightest touch on her draws an immediate foul. Coach Stephanie White tried to challenge one of these calls during a crucial game, only to be blocked by a little-known rule, since she didn't have a full timeout, just a reset. Meanwhile, the officials stayed protected, but Clark got no such mercy. This confusing and inconsistent rule enforcement doesn't just change games, it destroys trust in the system.
I thought she got fouled. You know, I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
This goes beyond simple mistakes. It reveals a broken system where referees answer not to the integrity of the game or fairness, but to hidden agendas. Caitlin Clark isn't just facing tough defenders. She's up against a system more focused on controlling the story than protecting its most valuable player.
The only draw in your league, the only player capable of selling tickets, is potentially out for an extended period of time. What the hell are you gonna do now?
The more details emerge, the clearer the truth becomes. This officiating crisis isn't a mistake, it's by design. The league may try to minimize the problem, but the outrage is only growing louder. It's not just fans speaking up. Players, coaches, and analysts across the country are calling out the poor refereeing, with Caitlin Clark caught right in the middle. This isn't about special treatment. It's a demand for justice and fairness on the court.
In that situation. And I understand the frustration that I think comes the most with officiating is the inconsistencies of officiating. But listen, this is not unique to the WNBA.
When referees repeatedly ignore obvious fouls against a star who's breaking records and capturing huge attention, people start demanding answers. One of the most talked about moments came during the Fever's clash with the Liberty. With the outcome on the line, Clark drove hard to the basket and was blatantly fouled by Natasha Cloud. The contact was crystal clear. Every replay angle confirmed it, yet the whistle never blew. No call. The game ended just like that.
All right, when that foul took place, CBS said she's got a challenge left. Well, it didn't matter. She couldn't use it. Stephanie White could not challenge that foul call on Lexi Hull, the one that led to the game-winning free throws from Sabrina Ionescu, because she didn't have a timeout. You need a full timeout, not a reset timeout, to initiate the challenge. Now, my issue with that is it would have been nice if the CBS announcers hadn't even brought up the challenge.
Clark and her teammates immediately approached the referees, demanding answers, but got nothing in return. The officials simply walked off, sending a powerful message not just to Clark, but to everyone watching. The whistle doesn't blow equally for all. This wasn't an isolated case. Earlier, Coach Stephanie White attempted to contest a questionable foul on Lexi Hull, but because she didn't have a full timeout remaining, league rules blocked her from making the challenge. Many fans, unaware of this rule, thought White had made a mistake. In reality, she was trapped by a system designed to protect officials from being held accountable.
There's clearly a problem. If it's not just one team, also, by the way, it's not just the Indiana Fever. I know it's been the biggest story this week. Brittany Griner left a sideline interview to go yell at the refs.
While the players were left exposed, referees hid behind technical loopholes. The frustration has now spilled well beyond Indiana. Brittany Griner even cut short a live halftime interview to fiercely call out the officiating on national TV. Other coaches have openly condemned the referees as disrespectful during post-game interviews. These complaints aren't just emotional reactions, they're calculated critiques. Players and coaches alike are pointing out that the rules are applied unevenly, throwing off the flow and integrity of the game. But the WNBA seems to brush off these concerns, dismissing them as typical growing pains from fans new to the league's physical nature. That excuse doesn't hold up. This isn't about toughness or physicality, it's about inconsistent enforcement. Every time Caitlin Clark steps onto the court, it feels like the rulebook flips. She's officiating differently, faces harsher physical play, and when she fights through it all, the refs turn a blind eye until her body finally breaks down.
I did notice in the Liberty game, Caitlin Clark's shots were all very short, so it was showing that she wasn't like getting off, and she was having a difficult time making those threes, and a lot of explosiveness from those three-point shots does come from your leg.
Now sidelined with a quad injury, Caitlin Clark has become the symbol of a controversy that won't go away. Those defending her aren't just supporting one player, they're exposing a culture that punishes greatness and rewards silence. Clark never asked for any favors, she only demanded the fair treatment every athlete deserves. But the higher she rises, the more opposition she faces, not just from rivals, but from the very system designed to protect her. The pushback isn't fading, it's growing stronger because the league seriously underestimated the force she represents.
Who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
Obviously, Caitlin's carrying a lot on her shoulders. A big star that is coming to a lot of these buildings. And
fans have moved beyond passive viewing. They're watching with a critical eye. The WNBA had a rare chance to reshape its future around a once-in-a-generation star. Caitlin Clark didn't just enter the league, she ignited it. She packed arenas, smashed TV ratings, and brought in a wave of new supporters hungry for the game. But instead of rising alongside her, the league seems to be cracking under pressure, holding on to outdated power plays and ignoring a glaring reality. The fans see everything. They witnessed her being knocked down without consequence. They watched officials huddle, then walk away without action. They saw the scoreboard change, not because the better team won, but because someone in a referee's uniform chose to look the other way. Now, these fans aren't just frustrated, they're taking action. Legal challenges are building, media investigations are intensifying, and what used to be whispered behind closed doors is now front page news. The system's cracks are showing for all to see.
But at the same time, the Fever were on the wrong end of some whistles, it seemed, in this game, and it's seemingly been that way for much of the season, and it's been a recurring theme where there's a level of physicality allowed against them, and they're not allowed to reciprocate on the other end. That particularly, of course, goes for Caitlin Clark.
For far too long, accountability in the WNBA has been locked inside a closed loop. Referees answer to committees, committees answer to stakeholders, and the public is left with no real voice. But that cycle has been shattered by the spotlight Caitlin Clark brought into the league. She never asked for controversy, nor did she want to become the face of a movement. Yet when the whistles stopped blowing and the hits kept coming, the league pushed her into that role. Now every unfair call, every questionable foul against her, every critical no-call fans see adds fuel to a fire that's quickly spreading. This isn't about favoritism, it's about protecting the soul of the game. What's happening to Caitlin Clark sends a chilling message to every rising star and every young girl watching from the stands. Even if you set records, even if you rewrite history, the system might still punish you for shining too brightly. That's not just unfair, like it's unsustainable. A league that can't defend its stars risks losing them. One injury, one controversy, one one overlooked foul at a time. If the WNBA doesn't take a hard look at its officiating, leadership, and the hidden forces steering the game, lawsuits might just be the beginning. This issue isn't fading away. Caitlin Clark's supporters won't let it. The media won't back down. And the truth is already out in the open. The real question now, will the league step up before it's too late? Drop a comment below to protect CC and show your support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Click the video on the screen and we'll catch you in the next one.